He was a great actor that was able to play an anti-hero throughout his acting career, always playing the occasional killer, criminal, tough guy, detective, war hero, and even cowboy on the silver screen. Spending over 50 years on the silver screen and even becoming a singer with his own songs whilst being a Hollywood actor. Working with elite actors and actresses at the time, and even and always being the exact opposite of each actor and actress in their character portrayals. This is the great Robert Mitchum, and this is his basic biography. Early life. Robert Mitchum was born on the 6th of August 1917 in Bridgeport, Connecticut, USA. He was born to a father who was a railroad engineer and a mother who had a background in maritime and even trade on the maritime on the seas. They were all living in Connecticut together. With his father being a railroad engineer, life was quite dangerous. His life was about to change at a young age when his father died in a railroad accident when Robert was just a child. And this accident would have an effect on his mother, being a single parent who had to look after him and his older sister for the rest of their lives. She was even pregnant with Robert Mitchum's other sibling, who would be born after his father's death. His mother would be remarried again and previously living on his father's pension just to support the family. And she would afterwards live a life of a married woman again when she got remarried to Robert Mitchum's stepfather. Robert Mitchum would then attend school in the 1920s, in which his stepfather and his mother would endorse him to do. He would be classed as a delinquent and even cause trouble at school, or in high school mainly. He would quit school due to being kicked out by the principal due to his behavior and not being part of a good student society or education society. So then on, he would take up odd jobs instead of excelling in his educational career. These odd jobs would lead him to being a boxer and even working as a laborer during the 1930s. Later, he managed to move to California after working with gangs and getting himself into trouble again, and nearly getting himself injured due to gang violence, and even hang around with local gangs and taking up their odd jobs, which would even could lead him to a criminal background or criminal history. Acting career. Once he moved to California during the mid 1930s, he stayed with his sister and carried on working odd jobs to keep himself out of trouble, and even making ends meet. He wanted to work outside of being a laborer by taking up acting in his local theater near Long Beach, California, where his sister actually lived. He would be able to start on his first stage performance and stage career by playing supporting actors and having billed as a villain in most of his plays. Near the end of the 1930s and even heading into the 1940s, Robert Mitchum was given a contract to become a movie star and be playing in minor roles on the silver screen. He would work in cinema as a villain, which was brought to his to life based on his acting style, from the stage to the silver screen. He started in roles or starred in roles that were more play a henchman or thug based rather than the main gangster or kingpin which most film noirs had at the time. His first ever appearance was Border Patrol in 1943, where he would be playing an extra in the Western epic. Later on, or after this film, he managed to star in more movies where he was able to play or the lead or the supporting actor role, continuing in Western roles such in the 1940s with actors such as the future Superman, George Reeves, and even William Boyd. During the middle of this World War II era, Robert Mitchum was able to be given roles as a war hero instead of the occasional villain role he was getting, that he was actually typecasted for at the time. He played in movies that made him more of a lead and a new actor who was a tough guy in most movies. Two notable movies that had him being the lead was the movie 30 Seconds Over Tokyo in 1944, co-starring with great actor and great legendary actor Spencer Tracy, and then starring in his second movie, The Story of G.I. Joe in 1945, where he was able to get his first nomination for the Academy Award. Legendary Hollywood star. He spent time in film noir genre films, playing as the tough guy character or the occasional detective, too many femme fatales being opposite him in each film. This was during the time when he was playing the villain or the war hero as a breakout star in Hollywood, with the 1940s being a mixture of genres that all audiences would want to see in their local movie theaters. Robert Mitchum continued his success in the 1950s, with him starring alongside more well known actors and actresses that were bigger than himself. He would go back to playing the villain in this decade, and even was able to play a mixture of roles by himself, learning new styles of acting, even sometimes using method acting in most of his movie roles. More iconic movies had his name in the front of each poster, starring alongside Jane Russell in His Kind of Woman in 1951, and even Macau in the following year, which made him one of the best actors in the film noir genre, and even performing his best in this genre. But he would be one of the greatest leading men on the silver screen by his art of adaptation on various films, and even each movie that he was able to star with big named Hollywood actors. He would be up against new actors such as Gregory Peck, Kirk Douglas, and even Yul Brynner, who were able to play the tough guy character in each movie they were in. He took up time playing a villain again on the silver screen that would make the audiences like him even more as an actor. He starred in one of his iconic movie roles in this particular decade of the 1950s. The movie was called The Night of the Hunter in 1955, where he would be playing a murderer who had to look after his victims' children. Then this was showing that he could be a cold killer with a heart of gold. The 1960s saw him becoming an actor that was able to go head to head with many great actors of the time, still playing a serial killer or a criminal killer in the role for the 1962 movie Cape Fear with Gregory Peck, and a war hero again in The Longest Day with Sean Connery, Richard Burton, as well as a whole heap of great actors and actresses. Then playing in a role Way West with in the movie Way West with Kirk Douglas as one of his competitor actors. Personal life and final years. Robert Mitchum was only married once. His wife was Dorothy Spence, and they were married from 1940 until his death in 1997. They had three children together. Whilst being an actor, he spent time being a singer, where he would release some albums that people would listen to during the 1950s and 1960s. His songs were not mainstream, or not being part of the mainstream media with other great singers at the time who were able to release great albums. These singers were like Frank Sinatra and even James Dean, who managed to give people the new sounds of lounge music and easy listening. The 1970s would see the great Robert Mitchum become an older gentleman and spend time working on remakes of his old film noirs, and even starring in neon noirs or neo noirs. He played the detective called Kilmer in the Yakuza film in 1974, where his character would have to save his friend's daughter from the Japanese gang in Tokyo. Then playing in the remake of The Big Sleep in 1978, where he would be moving to the UK or England to play his older detective role again. All of his roles in the 1970s were a big change from the movies he would be playing in earlier decades, with the villain's role being given to other actors and actresses who were new to Hollywood. He continued to act in the 1980s in such movies like The Ambassador in 1981 and Scrooged in 1988 with comedian Bill Murray, and having a chance to change from the movie theatre to the television screen. He was able to star in the 1990s in various remakes of when he was a lead role. This one of his remakes was he was able to star in was Cape Fear in 1991, again starring with Gregory Peck, and even his successor Robert De Niro. He would even appear in hit western movie called Tombstone in 1993 with Val Kilmer and even Kurt Russell, and then finally starring in his last film role, James Dean, Live Fast, Die Young, and in his last uh, television role was appearing in The Marshal in 1995 with Jeff Fay. Legacy and death. Sadly, Robert Mitchum passed away from lung cancer on the 1st of July 1997 at the age of 79. He was a great actor that managed to act well onto his older age, and even still was able to play the detective roles and even action role during his golden years of acting. Yet his legacy still lives on today with his grandchildren who have now become actors and even models in the modern day. Robert Mitchum was even honored as being one of the best actors of the silver screen and even in old Hollywood. Many people saw Robert Mitchum as a hero in real life rather than being the villain that he was portrayed on the silver screen. He would be recognized by Hollywood and even given many awards and nominations to being based on his villainous roles. He was even given his own star on the Walk of Fame in Hollywood, with some organizations such as the AFI, the American Film Institute, and even the British Film Institute, BFI, making him one of the best ranking villains on their own charts of heroes and villains on the silver screen. Now, thank you for watching. My name is Suki Cookie, and please subscribe if you haven't done so. I have more content like this, and even still continuing the second series of basic biographies. Thank you for watching.